Okay, thank you, Chair. And ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor to give a talk about the latest progress of our Micius quantum science satellite. I'm Juan Yin, come from the University of Science and Technology of China. And this cool photo, This cool photo was taken in our new ground station in Shanghai, and the beacon laser, the green line is a beacon laser from the satellite, and the red one is from the ground station. When the satellite is flying in the sky slowly, the beacon laser became even brighter than the Venus. It's very beautiful. We hope you can see this, and maybe tomorrow night. And this is our team in USTC. Our group leader, Jianwei Pan, is the chief scientist of the satellite project, and Chen Zhipeng is the chief engineer. And besides our university, there are many important institutes worked together with us. I want to use this. Such as Shanghai Engineer Center for Microsatellite, in charge of the satellite platform, and the Shanghai Institute of Technical Physics, who is responsible for the payloads together with us, and also the National Astronomical Observatories, who is build the ground station together with us. We all belong to the Chinese Academy of Science. And so let's quickly start with some familiar background on quantum communication. In 1984, Bennett and Brassard presented the first quantum key distribution protocol. This is the birth year of quantum cryptography as well as quantum communication. And it's also the most used QKD protocol. Then in 1991, Eckert also gave a QKD protocol based on entangled photons. Besides QKD, quantum communication also contains entanglement distribution, and it can test the Baird inequality over longer and longer distance. With the entangled photon distribution, it can also transport quantum bits. That is quantum teleportation theory. You can see Bennett and Brassard are also fathers of teleportation theory. They both won this year Wolf Prize. And so these theoretical papers led to an explosion of quantum communication study. A lot of quantum key distribution, entanglement distribution, and quantum teleportation works appeared all over the world, both in fiber and free space, pursuing longer and longer distance and real applications in the world. So here in China, from 2003, we start our quantum communication experiments. During the past 15 years, we have realized a lot of world records. So we realized the 13-kilometer quantum communication based on entanglement source in 2005, and then realized the first decoy state QKD in fiber with the secure distance of over 100 kilometers in 2007, and then extended to 200 kilometers in 2010. And from now on, we have kept 400 kilometer records in fiber since 2016. And in free space channel, we also did the quantum key distribution where the moving platform to prove our technologies towards the satellite. So after all these successful simulating experiments, we get the financial support of the quantum science satellite in 2011. This is a brief timeline of the satellite project, and we complete the prototype payloads in 2014, and then complete the flighting payloads in 2015. And also the satellite platform are complete in 2015. And all the 5 ground stations are complete in 2016. And then we launched the Micius quantum science satellite on August the 16th, 2016. This Micius satellite was designed to work in a sun-synchronized orbit with 500 kilometers height, and the total weight is about 630 kilograms. And it has 3 major scientific missions. The first mission, as you see, we want to achieve the quantum key distribution between satellite and Earth with the 1,000 kilometers distance away. And in our experiment, we obtained the final key rate is about 1,000 bits per second. And compared to the telecom fibers, it is 20 orders of magnitude higher. The second mission is we want to achieve entanglement distribution over to 2 ground stations separated over 1,000 kilometers away. And in the third mission, we have achieved quantum teleportation from ground to satellite. And as you see, last summer, our Micius satellite has already achieved the 3 main scientific goals. And now the new experiments are in progress. So before I introduce the new experiments, I want to first review some resources in the satellite. As here you see, outside the satellite, there are 2 optical transmitters. This is the big one. The aperture is about 300 millimeter. It is fixed in the satellite, and it can pointing to the ground station by the satellite, by moving the satellite. And as we have to point to 2 ground stations, so this small telescope, the aperture is about 180 millimeter. So it is on the rotating stage. It can move itself by the electronic motors. Inside, nearby the corner, this is the entangled photon source. And also we have many electronic control modules, includes the control process for experiment and also the APT system. Here are 5 ground stations for the joint experiment from satellite. And these pictures show the light path of the payloads in satellite and the ground stations. You see, there are, with these payloads, we can achieve the quantum signal sending and receiving, and the synchronizing laser sending and receiving, as well as the beacon lasers. So my point is that the satellite has already been in space, so the hardware cannot be changed anymore, but the software can still be modified via the microwave channel. And also the ground stations, we can modify more. Here I select some experiments to give a brief introduction. First, it's to simply think it can easier to change the ground station locations. So after we accomplished all the tasks of the satellite, we try to use our satellite to do more QKD experiments to different locations and different countries. From now on, we have already achieved the quantum key distribution to the place in Xinlong, Nanshan, Lijiang, and Delinha, all in China, as well as Graz in Austria and Tenerife in Spain. The Tenerife is, this experiment is achieved in this April 2018. And Meanwhile, and cooperations with such as Italy, Austria, and Germany, and so on are ongoing. So in fact, we already have the ability to point the Micius to any place on the Earth and do QKD experiment with 1 megabits per pass. On the other hand, with the help of the optical fiber network, we can connect our ground stations to users. As we all know that we constructed the Beijing-Shanghai quantum backbone network, and the total length is about 2,000 kilometers. Yao Chen is the chief engineer of this project. He may give a more detailed talk maybe on Wednesday afternoon. And you see the Beijing terminal has already connected to our Xinlong ground station. So with using the Micius satellite as a trustful relay, an intercontinental quantum key distribution between Beijing and Vienna over a distance of 7,600 kilometers has already been realized. And via the international cooperation, we want to jointly explore the feasibility of global quantum communication. Besides the long distance, high-speed quantum key distribution has always been the pursuit of practical quantum communication. So we try to modify the modulation of the decoy state in the satellite. We try to use efficient BB84 QKD. That is, we change the Z basis and the X basis from 1:1 to the ratio we change to 8:1, and the decoding system has been modified accordingly. So the shifting efficiency can be increased from 50% to 77%. And also, we can change the repetition. We double the repetition of the decoy state, and from 100 megahertz to 200 megahertz. And also the receiving efficiency of the telescope in the ground station are also improved. So you can see this is one orbit QKD experiment in Nanshan ground station. The distance, the experiment distance is also 500 to 1,400 kilometers, but the maximum shift key rate is increased. It is about 450,000 bits per second. And the final key we generated one pass is over 10 megahertz. It is also one order of magnitude higher than we reported in Nature paper. And the final key rate is about 40,000 bits per second. And here are some recent QKD results this is Lijiang, and this is Nanshan, and this is Tenerife. You see the maximal shifted key and also the final key is generated in Nanshan. The aperture is 1.2 millimeter, and Lijiang has 1.8 millimeter aperture, and no, not millimeter, sorry, 1.8 meter aperture, and also Metera has 1.5 meter, and so because the main lengths of these two ground stations are not so good. Now the main lengths of the telescope are recording both in Lijiang and Metera. So we think getting better results will be highly possible in the near future. Okay, the above QKD protocols by preparing and mirroring single photon states all needs to use the satellite as a trusted relay. While as first proposed by Eckert in 1991, entanglement also can generate quantum keys, and these protocols does not rely on trusted relay. The entangled photon source could even be in the hands of an adversary, while it could still generate secret keys. As Prasad and Eckert ever said that this would achieve the holy grail that all photographers have been dreaming of for thousands of years. This is our entangled photon source in the satellite. To guarantee enough brightness of the entangled source, we use the type 2 PBKTB the crystal in a SECNAC interferometer. And during the past 2 years, the entangled source works very well in space, and the measured brightness is over 8 million pairs per second. So for the first step, we try to perform the satellite to ground entanglement-based quantum key distribution protocol. And you see, here is the entangled photon source, these two arms, and one of the entangled photon source was sampled, and this is the sample mirror is sampled by 1% and measured in the satellite. And the other photon is sent to the ground station. And we finally obtained a final key of 3.5 bits per second. And further, we plan to use the satellite entanglement distribution to realize a long-distance quantum key distribution between two distant ground stations without trusted relay. And besides QKD, with the distributed entanglement, we have realized so-called remote state preparation between two ground stations separated over 1,200 kilometers. This is a variant of the quantum teleportation protocol, and it is used for ingredient in distributed quantum networks. This is our setup. In one of the ground stations, different initial states are prepared by insert a Mach-Zehnder interferometer. And in the other ground station, the photon states are verified or recovered. So as we have to insert the Mach-Zehnder interferometer in one of the ground stations, and the photons are coming from the satellite to the ground station, passing through the turbulence atmosphere. So we developed an integrated Mach-Zehnder interferometer to satisfy the outdoor working condition. You see the extinction ratio of the Mach-Zehnder interferometer is even more than 88 to 1, and the Mach-Zehnder interferometer can last for several days. And the final average fidelity of the 6th stage we prepared is over 80%. As we know, this is the first time that remote state preparation is demonstrated after two-way quantum entanglement distribution and from satellite. Okay, the distributed entangled photons can also use for Bayer test, of course. For decades, physicists have performed a number of experiments, and all of them have already confirmed the correctness of quantum mechanics, but still with some loopholes that need to be further addressed. One of the loophole is so-called freedom of choice loophole. That is, random number generators could be prior correlated. Thus, the choice of the measurement basis cannot truly random. Another loophole is that called collapse locality loophole, or called Schrödinger-Katz loophole. And that means it's arguable that measurement outcomes, for example, like the Schrödinger-Katz states in the black closed box, is not defined until it is registered by a human consciousness. So somehow the realized event have never been space-like separated. So how to address these two loopholes? As suggested by Tony Leggett, we can use human observers. Human free will can address the freedom of choice loophole, and human consciousness can close the collapse locality loophole. But we all know human reaction is about typically 100 millimeter. So one needs to confirm that the entanglement distribution should at a distance on the order of 1 light second. So by this way, we try to present a proposal between Earth and the Moon to address this protocol. And we also did a proof of principle bear test experiment with humans applying random measurements over simulated extremely high loss channel. We also collaborate with our peers in the world to perform an interesting bear test experiment, the so-called Big Bear experiment. Try to challenge the local realism with human choice. Where exploiting the above progress of quantum technologies, we also hope to perform bear test, try to realize a truly loophole-free bear test between Earth and the Moon by utilizing quantum memory and event-ready scan. So here we come back to global quantum network. With the Micius quantum satellite, we have already did some global quantum key distribution, but you see our ability is limited. Micius is a low Earth orbit satellite, so it moves very fast, and that is the experiment duration is too short. It's about 8 minutes for each pass, and also the coverage it can only cover about 1,000 kilometers range. And from now on, it can only work in the night and forget about the weather condition. So we have to find solutions to break the limit. As I mentioned before, fiber quantum network can connect the ground station to users somehow, so it can solve the weather condition, because we can use different place. We choose a good weather place, but it's not enough. We need more satellites to construct the quantum communication network. So we can develop nanosatellite to reduce the cost of the quantum satellite, because if you develop one satellite or three satellites, the same satellite, the cost is just almost the same. So develop more satellites can cost can reduce the cost of each one. And satellite using and the satellite constellation can increase the QKD chance and duration and greatly. We have already made a compact QKD system in Tiangong 2 Space Lab, and we can use this kind of nano satellite to construct a QKD constellation. Then we can provide worldwide safe communication for all users, especially you see some places that cannot use fiber networks, the island or the overseas ships. And meanwhile, we can construct much cheaper ground stations to make the satellite QKD more affordable for users. We can also construct the compact and movable ground station for different places in the Earth, on the Earth. And we can also use GEO satellite to do entanglement-based QKD between any two sites on the Earth because the orbit is high. It can simply cover any these two places or these two places to any place on the Earth. And also such QKD can always provide safe keys no matter the satellite is in no matter who controls the satellite. Well, our long-term goal is to build a global quantum network with QKD and laser communication integration, with many satellites in the space and fiber networks on the ground. We know there should be competitions from classical photography, but if we make this global quantum key distribution much cheaper, much safer, and more convenient to use, we can make it be the best choice for future information security. So thank you for your attention. And I hope maybe tomorrow night you can take a photo with our Micius satellite. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this fascinating talk. We have time for a few questions. So who will go to the moon to make this Bell experiment with Alice and Bob?
And we
have your volunteer already.
Yeah, and if there's the project for going to the moon, we hope he can do the experiment for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Charlie.
The use of a lot of human volunteers and the human reaction time to close some of these unclosable loopholes. And of course, lately there's been work on closing the freedom of choice loophole by extremely distant cosmic sources. It's another approach to that. I never thought of just using people and their reaction time. I think that's quite funny. And good.
Okay.
Well, from my perspective, there is no such thing as a loophole-free Bell experiment because there are always loopholes that are unclosable in principle, since there are explanations for quantum theory that are completely local and realistic, and therefore, no matter how much you agree with quantum theory, none of these experiments can prove non-locality. So loophole-free Bell test is a nonsense, which doesn't mean that these experiments are not nice. They're very nice experiments, but they're not loophole-free by definition.
Okay, that's a dream.
Some other question? You are too shy. There are certainly some questions. Yeah, Vadim, you're not shy.
What's the expected lifetime of the satellite?
Well,
What is the expected lifetime? How long is Micius going to function? What is the planned time?
okay, this month, Micius satellite is 2 years old, and the designed lifetime is 2 years. And from now on, we got less limited, and we can do more experiment, more changes, and as the experiment, it can survive. It can survive at least 5 years, I think.
Hi, my question is, other than the scientific experiments, is there any plans for the real-world applications, like for the customers or enterprise? Like how the users will use this satellite QKD network in the future?
Okay, we are planning to launch more nano satellites for users, and as quantum key distribution, it is act as the code keeper, and they can generate quantum keys for users. And how to get the information and the keys together, it is quantum theory can provide the security of the keys, and the other thing, the keys and the information and the transmitter is just like the classical information, I think. So we just do the quantum part.
Okay, thank you.
Some last question? No? Then let's thank our speaker again.